So a couple weeks ago, I was on Reddit and I saw someone talking about getting out of a fixed mortgage penalty by only paying the minimal interest penalty. And then a week later, a member on Facebook group also sent me a link to basically the same thing and asked me my opinion on it. Now this seems very intriguing to me, so I spent some time and looking into it, learning about how does it actually work. So for this week's video, I'm going to be focusing on this, taking you from the start to the end. What is it, how is it done, and when does it work and not work? So if you're in a fixed rate mortgage now or before, or you will be in the future, and you think there might be a day where you need to break a mortgage early, this would be the perfect video to teach you on that. Now without further ado, let's get started. So there are different people posting about this online, but here I'll be focusing on just one of the article that is written by Martin Hastings on his own website. Now he calls this method the Martin Mortgage Maneuver. I have included a link down below, so if you want to go through the full article, you can check it out over there. But what I'm going to do here is going to take you from the start to the end, walk you through his situation, and then give my comment as we go. And as a disclaimer, everything I'm reading here is based on Martin's numbers on his website. Now, to see if this is suitable for you or not, make sure you talk to your bank or talk to a mortgage broker to really understand about your own situation. So to start, he gave some prerequisite on when this is suitable. So number one is if you have a fixed rate mortgage right now that's over 1.64%. And he's saying that because I believe at the time that he's writing it, the lowest fixed mortgage rate is 1.64%. So if you have something higher than that, potentially you want to think about refinance. And number two, you want to refinance to a lower rate, or number three, for whatever reason, you need to break out of your current mortgage and you want to pay minimal interest. So basically his story goes something like this. It started at 2019 December. The mortgage is $504,000 at the start. It's a 5-year fixed mortgage at 2.49%. Now, by the time it's April 2020, so 4 months later, the mortgage balance is now $498,000. But the outside rate had fell to 2.25%. So Martin was kind of thinking about maybe should I refinance. Out of curiosity, he calls the bank about breaking out of his current mortgage. The bank quoted him $3,100 of penalty, and the calculation goes something like this. $498,000, which is what he owes by now, times his current interest rate 2.49%, times 3 months of interest is $3,100. Alright, so that's fine. He decided not to refinance because the rate difference was minimal. But then fast forward another 6 months and it's October 2020. Now he has $490,000 in his mortgage. He's still at 2.49%. He has about 4 years left on his term. However, the rates outside, the lowest rate he can find, has dropped to 1.74%. So Martin did some quick calculation to compare if he was to refinance today. For the remaining 4-point-something years that's left, he could save himself about $14,000 in interest. Now, obviously, that's a huge saving, so he decided to call his bank again, and thinking that, it's going to be a $3,100 penalty that was quoted by the bank 6 months ago, or maybe even slightly lower since his mortgage is less than 6 months ago. However, the bank came back with a $28,600 of penalty. So here comes the first part. First, we need to understand how come Martin's penalty after 6 months shot up from $3,100 to $28,000 in penalty. Now, to understand this, we have to go off to a tangent and talk about how fixed rate mortgage works and how does the penalty calculate. This is extremely important for us to understand first because the solution is actually the opposite of this. So we're gonna figure out how does this work first. Now, when you have a mortgage, if you don't know this, a variable rate and a fixed rate mortgage have different types of penalty calculation. For variable rate, they're only looking at 3 months of interest. No matter when you cancel, it's always 3 months of interest. That's all you have to pay. However, for a fixed rate, they will also look at the 3 months interest payment, but they will also look at a second calculation called IRD, which stands for interest rate differential. So basically what this is that for a fixed mortgage to the bank, it's a guaranteed and constant revenue stream. For example, if you have a 5-year fixed mortgage at 2.49%, then that is their guaranteed revenue stream they will know for the next 5 years at 2.49%. Now, if you were to break out of this mortgage early, you would return the mortgage back to them and they would have to take this money and relend it to someone else. But if the interest rate have dropped already, then when they relend this to someone else, the interest rate will be much lower than what they give you. And so for the bank to recoup this loss, they have to calculate what is the difference in the amount of interest that they would have made off of you if you never broke out of this and never have to refinance this to someone else at a much lower rate. That difference is the interest rate differential, and that's the penalty basically. So looking at the interest rate differential penalty, the calculation goes something like this. It's mortgage amount times the years left in your term times the difference between your actual rate minus the bank's current rate. Even though this equation looks very simple on paper, the actual calculation is not as black and white than just taking your actual rate minus your bank current rate and then getting the difference. They actually have to introduce another number into this equation called the posted rate. So every bank has a posted rate, and that is the bank's official mortgage rate that they would want to charge a client. However, this rate is very, very high usually, and nobody will ever have to pay this rate. So instead, what they do is they will often take the posted rate minus and give you a discount and then give you the actual rate like that. So for example, in Martin's case, he is getting a 2.49% originally. It's not the bank saying that I give you a 2.94%. It's the bank saying that, okay, I'm going to take my posted rate, which at that time is 5.29% for a 5-year fixed mortgage, but I'm going to give you a 2.8% discount. So then when I minus that, at the end, you're going to get your 2.49%. That's how they calculate this. So your IRD penalty now looks something like this. It's still the mortgage left times the years left, and then it's going to times the difference between actual rate and current rate. But inside, actual rate is calculated as posted rate minus the discount they're giving you, and the current rate is the posted rate now that the bank is listing minus the same discount they gave you in the first place. Alright, so you might say, okay, this sounds very simple at first, but why are you making it so difficult and so complicated now? What is actually the purpose here? Well, as you will see in the next part, the posted rate is what's going to keep your penalty very, very high every year. So back into Martin's case, in 2019 when he first got his mortgage, the posted rate is 5.29%. His final rate is 2.49%, so this is the bank saying, I'm going to give you a 2.8% discount. So it's 5.29 minus 2.8 equals 2.49. Now, in April, when he first asked about his penalty, that he was quoted the 3,100. What was going on at that time was that the IRD was still being calculated, but the equation looks something like this. Mortgage amount was 498,000. He has 4.46 years left times the posted rate, which is 5.29%, minus the discount, 2.8%. That's his actual rate. And then we're going to minus the current rate. But at that time, it was still the same posted rate as before. So it's still 5.29% minus 2.8%. So at the end, this will become 0. They cancel out each other. So your IRD penalty was actually 0. But of course, the bank is not going to let you walk away with no penalty. So when IRD is equal to less than 3 months interest payment, instead of using IRD, they're going to take the 3 months interest as your penalty. So that is why we use 3 months calculation and getting the 3,100 there. However, that's not the case anymore in October 2020, because right now, Martin is about 4 years and 2 months left in his mortgage. The bank is going to use a different posted rate to calculate the current return. They will no longer use the 5-year posted rate, but instead they're going to use the 4-year posted rate, which is listed at 3.89%. So now the calculation looks something like this. He still has 490K left in his mortgage times 4.167 years left times, first the actual rate is going to be 5.29 minus 2.8 just like before, minus the current rate, but now we're using 3.89 as a posted rate, minus the 2.8%, the same discount he has before. So if you look at the back, then you're going to have a huge difference in your interest differential. And then if you times everything together, that's how you're going to get the 28,000 in penalty. So now do you see why they use posted rate? Because by having a posted rate, they are able to control how much penalty you have to pay. So as you get closer to your term maturity, they can keep the penalties pretty high for you, so then it's hard to get out of your fixed mortgage. Now, this is also one of the problems I listed in my other video talking about mortgage payoff strategy, and this is one of the reasons I also don't really like traditional mortgage, especially fixed rate mortgage, because of the IRD calculation. It makes it very hard to get out early, especially for investment property, then in case I have to sell it because it's a hot market like right now, I might have to eat a very heavy penalty just to get out of the mortgage early and sell my house. Alright, so now we understand how IRD works. The solution for this is actually the same thing but a complete opposite. We just flip it around and apply the same concept the bank have applied to their customers. Looking at the formula again, it goes something like this, right? IRD is calculated mortgage left times years left times posted rate at start minus discount, and then minus the posted rate now minus your discount. So the key here is the last part. We want the posted rate to not drop too much or maybe even the same. The closer the posted rate is to the original posted rate we have when we first started, the less the penalty will be. So like Martin's case, when he really wanted to refinance, he was only getting a lower posted rate because his mortgage is now at the 4-year term mark and they're using a different posted rate. So theoretically, what he needs to do is to make his current 4-year mortgage back up to 5-year mortgage. When it's back up at 5 years, they're going to use a 5-year posted rate, then the IRD should be 0, just like we saw in the previous calculations. And if it's 0, then all the bank will charge is the 3 months interest. So in his article, he's doing that by doing something called blend and extend. All it means is we're going to mix our current mortgage with a much shorter term mortgage, mix them together and extend the term back up to 5 years. So in Martin's case, his old mortgage is 4.167 years left at 2.49%. He is going to get a 0.833 years of mortgage offered by the bank at 2%. Adding them together, his now mortgage is back up to 5 years and have an average rate of 2.41%. Now by then, the 5-year posted rate the bank posted is now back down to 4.79%. So the bank basically looking at Martin's new 5-year blended mortgage and they're saying this. The posted rate is 4.79%. We're going to minus the 2.38% of discount, giving you a final rate of 2.41%. Then after a month, he goes in and he breaks his mortgage now. So applying to the same equation as before, the IRD penalty is going to look something like this. Mortgage left, which is 490k, times years left, which is 5 right now because he have re-extended, times. First part is the posted rate at start minus a discount. Now because the bank sees this as a brand new mortgage because you have blended into a new rate, to them it's a whole new product. They're using the updated posted rate, which is 4.79%, minus the discount 2.38%. And then at the end, we're going to minus the last part, which is posted rate now minus the discount. But the posted rate now is the same as the 4.79% because to them, this is a brand new mortgage that this customer only held for 1 month and they're breaking it. So the posted rate now is 4.79% is the same, minus the same discount. So at the end, the IRD penalty is 0. Now, as we said before, the bank is not going to let you walk away with a 0 penalty, so they're going to charge him the 3 months interest, which is going to be $2,952. So this is how Martin was able to lower from his 28k penalty to less than 3k by blend and extend and then breaking it right away. Now, does this always work? For him, he said that Scotia and Meriden works, but not TD. Now, he's not sure about other banks, but I have talked to mortgage brokers on this, and they're saying that essentially it is a hit or miss. You really have to communicate with your bank or work with a mortgage broker to find out first. Because some banks now are starting to have policy to patch this loophole. For example, they could introduce a grace period, as per the mortgage broker said, that can really make this not possible anymore. But would there be any risk to it? In Martin's FAQ page, he stated that he doesn't think so because if it doesn't work, like you can't break out of it because the penalty, for example, they have a new policy that patched the loophole, so your IRD is still going to remain very, very high. All you have to do is just say you don't want to break out of your mortgage and just stick to your current blended mortgage, which is still going to be a lower rate than before. Now, other than that, he also have other FAQ on his page, so I have also provided a link to it in the description below. So if you're interested, check it out. Alright, so this is going to be a quicker video. Now, I know this has a lot of math inside, and I apologize if, I tried my best to explain as clearly and concisely as possible. If it's still confusing, maybe you want to rewind and watch it one more time. Let me know what you think below, right? Do you think this is useful in your situation? Are you thinking about trying this? Or maybe you're a mortgage broker and you have scenarios where this works and this doesn't work. Leave it in the comment below so everybody can learn as well. Now, if you like this kind of content, I do upload them 8:30 EST every Tuesday. So make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to my channel. Click the bell button so you get all the notification in the future. Alright, this is Jacky. I hope you found this interesting. I'll see you next week. Bye.